G'day, apologies for the poor video quality, but not real good lighting in here. Doing it off a laptop. No big deal. Dog's barking at something in the background. Sat down to do a video the other day. Got distracted and I fucked it up. So I am sort of making it again. Jesus, after work I'm a little bit tired, but here goes anyway. In a way, this is sort of my reaction response to one of Mark Passio's videos that he's done, or one of his What on Earth is Happening podcasts that he did. It seems like it was just the two-parter. I haven't gotten all the way through them yet because his episodes are quite long, and I work quite a lot, but I dedicate try and get an hour at a time blocks of his videos when I can. Not so much for education either. I find it's good to hear his side of things because he puts it so bluntly. And what he was doing in those last two videos that I watched, most of the first one and some of the second so far, he was talking about fear of sacrifice in the freedom movement. So, talking about those people who preach about wanting freedom, understand, they understand the concept that government is slavery, that we're a slave race, that our masters are manipulating us, and they cry and scream for freedom, but they don't demonstrate a real desire for it in their actions. And in their thoughts, psychologically, a lot of people, and including myself at times, psychologically, it seems that people are very weak at the moment, especially in these times, that we are very psychologically weak, and very weak-willed, and yeah, it's bad. It's to the point where it's sort of I believe that we sort of stand on a precipice between like total control by the master class, the elite class of people, these dark occultists, are but moments away from completely annihilating free will. And yeah, it's worrying. It worries me. I've lost sleep over it for sure. Lost sleep over it. But I had to question myself too and say, like, was I really doing enough? Am I doing enough? And definitely not. No, and I've tried to a degree. I like to think that I've tried. Um, my knowledge of natural law is nowhere near what, say, Mark Passio's is, or say what some of the older occultists would have known and been able to express. But they've all seen these times coming. So these times have been warned about for a long time. It's Mark Passio refers to the god of Mammon, money. That materialistic world. Rudolf Steiner referred a lot to Lucifer and Ahriman, and I believe what we're seeing now, definitely with the densification of the human soul, like this densifying thing that seems to be happening, where there's less connection with the divine in the universe, and certainly less understanding of natural law. That there seems to be a densification of those like spiritual principles. That seems to be very prevalent, and that's another one of my concerns, is that people are gradually becoming incapable of even comprehending sort of the knowledge in the higher worlds, and certainly not able to put that knowledge once it's gained into real world action. Um, yeah, so long story short, things need to change. And we're the ones that have to change them. So the individual themselves we have to each do the work. I think we need to be out there, like I've mentioned before, boots on the ground militia. We need to be like that. We need to be organized. We need to become almost militarized um, in our approach to taking down systematically this, systemic government corruption. Um, yeah, so we need to become far more organized than I think we probably ever will get, to be honest, because you just don't see it. You don't see people talking about it. Most people don't want to even acknowledge that there's an issue. They're too comfortable in their lives, and acknowledgement, one, would mean that they would have to acknowledge that something was wrong and that life isn't just all cheery, happy go lucky. They'd have to actually take responsibility and do something. So that we would have to hold ourselves to account and be willing to hold others to account and say, no, that's not okay. And that's a big part of it, pulling others up. But pulling yourself up, taking responsibility, accountability for actions, and that sort of sacrifices a certain safety. Um, it's that sacrifice of our safety net, of our safe world, our safe bubble, and actually branching out, speaking publicly, speaking on public forums like this. Um, and it seems like most people just don't want to do that. And I know from talking to certain people, they will say when you bring up the hard stuff, you talk about this sort of level of corruption um, within our governments and the under the table dealings and the stuff that's happening with WEF and everyone else. And you talk about that. A lot of people I talk to, they say they don't want to hear it. It doesn't affect them until it affects them. And then once it does, that's when they'll scream and yell and say that they're being treated unfairly. But they wait until that happens before they're willing to actually do anything about it. And even then, they're not willing to do anything about it. They'll just complain. I expect others to do the work for them. Which is a part of that, our conditioning, and we're conditioned to believe that other people are responsible for our lives. So that's why we have governments, because we've been tricked into believing that we need somebody to make decisions for us. Ridiculous, I know, but that is how it goes. So even when we say, oh, we don't want these politicians in power, but and then we look to the next person. A lot in the Australian freedom movement, especially fucking RDA and all those bullshit fucking organisations that are doing nothing. They're not even teaching the right stuff. They're still relying on politicians, which I don't understand. I'm not even going to go there. They make me too angry. If any of them are watching this, though, if any of them do have to come by it, um, feel free to reach out and I'll tell you exactly why I think you need to be doing more on your end to teach real world philosophies, to be seeking for truth and not, continuing to perpetuate our faulty system, which is what they're doing by looking to other political parties. We don't want politicians. We don't need politics. We don't need governing. Do we need a set of rules? Like, yes. But I think they're pretty well established within our collective consciousness, the basic tenets of being good people, and it's not that hard. You boil it down, the real basic thing about it is be a good person, and it's not that hard. And to be a good person, you have to live an objectively moral existence, you know. But we've fallen into the trap of moral relativism, where we believe that morality depends on, time, space, location, you get what I'm saying? So it depends person to person. So what is moral and good and right for me isn't the same as for other people, and that's a bullshit way to think about it. So morality in the law and how it manifests is, to a set of universal laws. Universal, divine, and immutable laws, and that is how morality works. And the essence of morality is don't do anything that directly causes harm to another person or to another sentient being, I think is actually how it's put often. So yeah, in a way, like the law of morality isn't far off different from, the original Hippocratic oath that doctors are sworn in by. That first do no harm. I mean, that's it. That's really it. First, try to do no harm. Do your absolute best to do right by others and do right by yourself and take care. That principle of care, not just for yourself, but for others, and for the collective. I mean, that principle is vastly lacking. Most people only care about themselves and how things affect them. So when they're talking about freedoms, they're essentially talking about personal freedoms. They're not talking about the universal freedom of man and trying to contribute to that. Sorry, I just got a message from someone from work that forgot to order something. Um, anyway, I'll read you something. Actually, I'm going to read you a few things. Some things that I've been working on, some ideas and concepts. But this was more of a manifesto that I was thinking of trying to put out. But I guess if I put it out on here first, and then I'll work to maybe finalize and go through and check grammatical errors and things like that, and actually print it out. And I wanted to make a hard copy that I'm going to try and distribute throughout various different postcodes in my local area, with the message on it to copy it and repeat and send out abroad to friends to copy and repeat. So the title of the manifesto or pamphlet is Government is Slavery. And it begins, you are a slave. You were born into slavery, and from the moment you were born, you have been lied to that you were free. The truth was never made known to you. You are a slave, and your masters have manipulated you with the lie that you are a free person. You are not free, but you can be. To be free, though, you must want it, and you must be willing to do the work. You must realize the lie, realize that you have been perpetuating the same lie that you were told. You have to admit that you are a liar. Stop lying to yourself is the first. It is the first step to liberation. The first step to liberation, to our freedom, is to end the lie. You want to be awake and free? You want liberty and justice? Then get off your ass and work for it. Stop letting others tell you what to do. Stop letting other people govern you. Stop letting them decide your actions. Government in any form is slavery. Police and armed forces of any kind are enforcers of slavery and facilitators of slavery. They are guilty. And when we allow this type of slave facilitation to continue, when we comply with and condone the actions of these thugs, for that is what they are. They are armed thugs, and they are dangerous. They are a danger to you and a danger to your freedom. Do not comply with them. The price we pay for our compliance, for being guilty of condoning the actions of these thugs, is enslavement. When we condone and comply with being governed, we sacrifice our freedom that is our right by the immutable laws of nature in favor of being enslaved. Read that again to you. When we condone and comply with being governed, we sacrifice our freedom that is our right by the immutable laws of nature in favor of being enslaved. I say read that again and again, or listen to it again and again, and realize that every time you allow yourself to be governed by others, you allow yourself to be enslaved. And thus you sacrifice your freedom. You give up your liberty, your sovereignty, in favor of enslavement, generally for comfort and for convenience. And these are the lies that they sell to you en masse. These lies are sold to you every single day with every new piece of legislation and every new piece of technology that is being used to manipulate and control you. That is what keeps you enslaved. Compliance with government is compliance with slavery. The silver lining is that you can be free, but you have to want it. You have to do the work yourself and not wait for others to do it for you, which is what we seem to do. We let others talk for us. We let others do the work for us, and we expect that to yield results, and it will yield nothing. Not until we all do it. I'm talking to everyone in the freedom movement, everybody who wants freedom, who does not agree with the governance that we have for a start, who wants to stop systemic corruption at the source. Well, then we have to be doing the work, which means we have to dissent. We have to achieve total non-compliance with them. You know, follow only one law, and that is natural law. That is universal law, karmic law. You know, follow those laws, the law of morality or the law of freedom. Stop complying, stop condoning, stop the bullshit. Resist, rebel, and refuse. Fight for freedom, for your freedom and for others. Fight for liberty. Join the great work, which this is. This is the great work. Sharing information and fighting against corruption. That's the great work. That's what makes us better. It's what makes us good people, by living morally and teaching morals to others. And I'm not talking about relative morals. I'm talking about true morals. I'm talking about truth. You know, truth is not relative. It doesn't change place to place, time to time. Truth is a set thing. Like I say, immutable. So before I finish this video, I'll just say to you, well, actually, I'm going to do a little bit more. But what I would like to say is something Mark Passio talks about, and I advise, like, for people who want a kick up the arse, who really want to ignite themselves and get inspired, listen to him. He's harsh, but he's honest and true. But he talks about the law of freedom. And for the law of freedom to work in our lives, which is the, you know, sort of the true, like natural law is the true law of attraction. It's doing the work. But the law of freedom states that when there is more morality in the world, there is more freedom. Less morality in the world equals less freedom. So the more immoral we are, the more harm we cause to each other and what we do by condoning others' actions and not doing anything about it. You know, if we sit back still and watch our governments and these massive, like, corrupt corporations, big pharma, you know, big tech, we continue to let them do what they're doing, unaccounted for, unchallenged, that makes us bad people. I'm sorry, but it does. It makes us, we're not being good people. And by that, I mean just that. We're not being good people. Because we're ignoring and choosing. We're choosing comfort. We're choosing convenience over what is true and right. And that's why we're in the current state we're in. So, anyway, now, if we want freedom, we have to understand sort of the law of acquisition and sacrifice. There's a duality at play in that. So, just allow me to indulge, sort of the concepts the way I understand them. This is my I see this as being a truth. Anyone with greater information than me, who may be better versed in talking about these subjects, feel free to correct me. I would rather that than continue being wrong and living a lie. Anyway, natural law dictates that wherever there is acquisition of a thing, there is sacrifice in one form or another. In other words, to acquire one thing, you generally have to sacrifice another. Nothing is free in the world. If I choose to go left, I sacrifice my option of going right. You see where that's going. So this is the law of acquisition and sacrifice. Nothing is ever gained without payment, whether it be financial, time-based, effort, force. That is an aspect of the law and is therefore immutable, unchanging, and cannot be bypassed no matter how much we may not want it to be true. And I know how many people would like to have their freedom, or have their cake and eat it too, as the saying goes. Now, we would like our freedom, but we would also like our comforts. We want freedom from a system that we're willing to mooch off of and utilize as long as it suits us, and we can't have that. We cannot have the current system or any elements of it if we truly want freedom in the world. Anyway, this truth, the truth of acquisition and sacrifice, is an objective reality. It is not my belief. It isn't an opinion, it is a truth. Another truth is that a lot of people are unwilling to pay the price, to make the sacrifices necessary to achieve true freedom from the slavery that is government, and all forms of government are exactly that. They are slavery. So, that was in league with talking about how slavery is government. We have the idea of acquisition and sacrifice. It's a part of karmic law, which is just another name for natural law. I mean, that's what karma is. Karma is natural law at work. I can't describe it any better than that. Someone else may be able to. Another thing that I thought, and this might not be as important, but I see it as being a reason as to why, why there's so much trouble with people accepting or doing this sort of work and understanding it rightly, because I see that the truth today is that, people sort of lack, at least en masse, any real understanding of what spirituality means. We're falsely taught that the human soul is but a concept, a belief, rather than teaching the reality of the human soul. We aren't taught reincarnation, karmic or natural law, or our divine origins in our school when we are children. We're not taught to revere something divine and beyond us. We're not taught to live in accordance with that natural divine principle. And in fact, it appears to me that we actively, or at least, the system actively discourages it. Discourages us from pursuing sort of spiritualistic avenues of knowledge, because, you hear terms like it's, a belief system or fantasy and things like that. That's what we call sort of the more magical side of nature, or more divine side of nature. and it isn't accepted as a reality when it in fact is a reality, that more people being aware of it could align with it and work. I mean, you don't even really need to know divine principles or understand anything about the divine to live a divine life or a divinely inspired life, but it could help. When it was, I certainly see reincarnation and karma being taught earlier on, um, and being instilled as a core teaching, core value, and core belief. I can see how that would help long term to sort of clear up and fix some of the systemic corruption that we see today. So, what we do teach more, we don't really pursue spiritually, intellectual, or psycho-emotional exploration. We instead regurgitate most of our information from textbooks onto a piece of paper, give it to the teacher for marking. That's how our education system seems to go. It's not a think for yourself, um, try to seek out truth. It's a this is the right answer, this is the wrong answer, you get it wrong, then you fail as a student, you get it right, you succeed as a student, you can go into the next phase of indoctrination, which is our universities. Yeah. As individuals, we aren't being taught. Oh, hang on, no, sorry. The greatest danger to true spirituality is the lie of moral relativism, teaching that right and wrong are not definitive, that we can do and say and be whatever we want, and that we're right just because we said this is what we believe, so we're in the right. So there's no real, we're not teaching true morality, which needs to happen as well. We're not being taught that truth is objective. It seems like more and more people think that truth is a subjective thing. I mean, all you have to do to see that people think that truth is subjective is look at the whole transgender sort of debate at the moment, and you'll hear some fucking stupid, dog shit, dumb stuff being said, likely on both sides, but I've seen it on sort of the trans activist side. A lot of them have no idea what they're talking about, and they're dangerous, like really dangerous to sort of. They're a threat to truth, and they're a threat to true morality, and they're a threat to humanity in the most real sense. Um, but this isn't about trans activism. We're not having a gender debate, but I just think that sort of ties in a little bit, and as an example to see how much moral relativism can cause some major, major trouble. Um, anyway, it's immutable and unchanging. Truth is objective. But much of the New Age movements, which are another dangerous pathway, are teaching, sort of the opposite. They teach more and focus more on personal truths uh, instead of focusing on the collective. So I guess that wasn't as important, but sort of I see that lack of true spirituality and a lack of an understanding of what morality really is and what natural law really is and how sort of causality works, which is another word for the law of attraction and how that really works. And understanding that shit will, it's like a domino effect. The more people that understand that, the less we're going to have. We won't need governments. People will start to wake up gradually and start doing the work, and we can hopefully systematically take these fuckers out. That's the goal long term, is to rid ourselves of government altogether. But they're banding together. We know this weapon been meeting. It may be one of the more important World Economic Forum meetings to date. They touched on some real fucking scary shit if you watch any of their videos. And in their videos, you can just see how they're starting to really work towards a global cohesion one world government, new world order type scenario. We are heading for um, that chasm. We're going off the edge at a very fast pace if we don't start really knuckling down and communicating this sort of stuff to each other to get it out there. Keep doing the work. Don't comply. Refuse, refuse, refuse. So, say the magic word, no. And if more people can learn to say, no, I'm not fucking doing this. I'm not participating in that. I will not do that. I don't care how much you fine me. I will not pay that fine. And I will stand up in public spheres and talk about it. So keep warning each other. Get this message out there as much as possible. Get the government and slavery message out there as well, because we really, really need to fast track this now, because it's getting ridiculous and there aren't enough people doing this sort of stuff. There's not enough who are out there being brutally honest, like, no, we need to take these fuckers out. We need to get boots on the ground, start some kind of true rebellion, true anarchy. I'm not talking about chaos. I'm talking about a true anarchist world of no government, with an agreed upon set of rules. That's for another discussion. That's for somebody maybe who has more of an idea on the ins and outs of how that might work. But we just have to start getting shit basically, onto paper, onto hard drives, onto like our more than just socials, but trying to get it onto that sort of these media platforms. Anyway, that's me for now. Thank you if you do happen to come across this. I hope that it makes some sense, and I hope that you can take something from it and hopefully be inspired to make your own videos and get them out there. Maybe make your own manifestos, get them out there, but try to make sure the biggest goal we've got here is to try to teach truth, try to direct people towards truth and towards being moral beings. Anyway, peace out. Take care. Bye for now.